All right, guys, we're back. We're here with
Jeff Brown and Tony Castanera.
there you go, and it's OversteerTV, the podcast. I forgot which one this is. I'll write it down. I have it written down somewhere. We got to come up with a new name for this.
I don't know. I like it.
Okay, we'll stick with the name.
The podcast.
It's decided. It's OversteerTV, the podcast, even though we're not on TV anymore.
Well, we hadn't been on TV in a long time. We had to change with the times. You know,
That's
we
true.
started off as an actual television show on the air,
Back in
and
the day.
then we went to streaming, like a live streaming back when nobody was watching live streaming.
Mhm. Yep.
And so we had no viewers.
Yeah.
But we were doing it. We were way ahead of our time, like about 10 years.
Yeah, we quit too soon.
But we had, life catches up.
Yeah, the things and different projects, and then we're back. Now we're trying to play catch up, but we'll do it eventually. I've already got some interviews working on lined up. I'm sure Jeff's going to have some interviews too. We're going to be doing lots of stuff, but right now it's May. You know what that means?
Hot. That's what that means.
It means April showers bring May flowers.
That's right. Summertime is back.
Yeah. May is the month where 3 of the 4 biggest races of the year are taking place. You have the Indianapolis 500, of course, the Monaco Grand Prix, and of course, for NASCAR, one of the biggest races for them, the Coca-Cola 600. I checked; it's still the Coca-Cola 600, not the Pepsi-Cola.
That's the top it all.
Yeah, not the Pepsi, but Coca-Cola, because I'm a Coca-Cola guy, so I actually pay attention to that race.
Yeah. I can remember, you get up and you have breakfast in Monaco.
Right.
Then you jump on the Concorde over to Indianapolis.
Of course, that's what you do.
And then you fly down south to Charlotte for the after all that traveling, that's not enough. You need 600 more miles to go then at that point.
I remember when Mario tried to do that. Mario Andretti tried to do that. He was racing in the Monaco Grand Prix, and he thought he'd be able to catch a Concorde and make it to Indianapolis. And they're like, no, there's no way. Because Indy starts at 11 in the morning. It's not an afternoon race.
Does.
So
right after the Monaco, it's like a full day. That's why my wife hates Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, did it again.
Well, we are going to
It's not the TV, it's the computer.
We are having one guy trying to do the double, of course, Kyle Larson.
The mouse.
He's doing his testing out there. You're the NASCAR guy. What do you think? How do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to lose at Indianapolis, and then I think he's going to go lose at Charlotte.
Well,
in the 600. I don't think you can conceivably do both and win both or win one. Yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's an impossibility almost. I don't know. He's Kyle Larson. If he does it, I will bow down as one of the greatest of all time.
Well,
if he can do and win both of those races.
You see, it literally is impossible to win both races, because if you win the Indianapolis 500, you're contractually obligated to stay there for all the post-race stuff, all the prize giving. That takes another 2 or 3 hours. That's part of your entry thing. You have to stay there. So probably, if he was to win, he's not doing a NASCAR race.
Wow.
At all.
So I guess they have to have another driver on standby just in case he wins it.
I'm sure they do, or in case something happens. What if there's a rain delay in Indianapolis?
They've got to have another driver on standby.
Yeah, they have to. They always have to. Most of the big teams in NASCAR, don't they have a driver on standby just in case somebody gets hurt? Or
no, not really.
They driver
go down and get something out of the Xfinity series. A young driver that is looking to try to get their break.
Yeah, so there's always somebody there. There's always somebody in the paddock going, "Hey, I can do that."
Yeah, well, a lot of those guys, those Saturday race guys, as soon as they're races over on Saturday, they're gone. The hauler pulls out. They're not going to sit there and pay for another night in hotels and all that. That's a lot of expense. So if that a situation did arise, they would have to fly somebody in. I don't think there's anybody there on standby. Of course, it's Charlotte, so that's where most of them live anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Most of them live within that vicinity because Charlotte is the racing hub of NASCAR.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Over by Lake Lanier, a lot of NASCAR drivers that are houses there. Refresh my memory. Kyle Larson drives for who in NASCAR? What team is that again?
He drives for Rick Hendrick.
Oh yeah, they'll have
he's one of the Hendrick guys, so he's already in a top car.
Yeah. So they'll have a guy ready to go in case he can't make it for whatever reason. God forbid he gets into an accident, or if there's a rain delay and he's stuck there or whatever.
Sure, you could enter concussion protocol and then you can't race, even though you feel fine or whatever.
Yeah, perfectly fine. So, I don't think nobody's expecting him to win. Then again, the Indy 500 has always been one of those races where it's 500 miles. It's an endurance race, and so a lot of times the best driver doesn't win.
Trouble, and then all of a sudden, late in the race, you find yourself up front,
right?
With a chance to win it.
I remember
that's all you're asking for, really.
Yeah. I mean, when Villeneuve did it, he was 2 laps down at one point, like 2/3 of the race, and he ended up winning the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah. Then you had Danny Sullivan spin and win. When you spin out and you're just like everybody, his race is done.
But realistically, how do you think he'll do? Do you think he'll be near the front? He'll be a mid-pack guy? Will he be, just be in the back like a good old Dennis Vitolo, a moving speed bump out there in the track? Or
at first, I see him being conservative, but as the race goes on, 3 laps in, he'll start driving like Kyle Larson and go straight to the front.
Really? That should be interesting.
It may take him 3 laps to get accustomed.
Well, the other thing, how is he going to qualify? It's really 2 races in one. Qualifying is one thing that's worth a lot of money, a lot of prestige. Where you start in the Indianapolis 500, they've been doing some practicing, not much because of the rain. It is such a precise sport as opposed where NASCAR is like you can push your car and shove it into some places where it's not supposed to go. IndyCar is more of like, you got to be like a surgeon, like straight there. And if you can't push, if you do, you're into the wall. You never see a car sliding in Indy. A car sliding in Indy is not a good thing. Never.
No.
Never.
It slides and you're in the wall. That you're done.
Yeah. So, do you think he can change his style to be able to go in there? Because Kyle Larson in NASCAR, he's like, I'm going to stick my nose in there and lean on people.
Well, the thing is he's racing there this week in a sprint car on dirt. So he all the time goes from dirt to NASCAR to IndyCar. Well, not all the time IndyCar, but he's very adaptable. He doesn't matter what kind of race car it is. When he gets in it, he goes fast, and usually one of the top guys. I mean, the sprint car race that he's going to race on dirt, he's probably the favorite to win. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's just going to run, be it, and also ran. He's going to win that thing, or he wouldn't even be entered in it. And chances are he will. He's done it before. He's won, the sprint car race before, Indianapolis before. He just didn't have an IndyCar ride to ride in the 500, but he does now. So we'll see how he does.
It's
I think, like I said, I think Kyle Larson could get into a Formula One car and be a top driver. Maybe not in the first few races or maybe the first season, but within a season or two, I would say about halfway through the first season, he would be a force to be reckoned with.
It's interesting.
You put him in the right equipment.
Yeah, you bring up sprint cars. There used to be a time, we're both old enough to remember, where the IndyCar drivers came from sprint car series, and those guys, all the dirt, the short ovals, the sprint cups, the
It was
midgets.
almost the same cars,
Yeah.
Just modified a little bit,
And but it's been like for last, I don't know, it's been a while since we've had anybody come up from the sprint car, midget racings things. Those guys tend to go to NASCAR now. I guess how NASCAR is more of an oval, definitely a more oval series than IndyCar is now. But there used to be a time where I remember back in the day where some guys would be, some guy run sprint cars all year, then get an Indy car just for the Indy 500 and go out there and do well.
Yeah.
And
a guy named Rich Vogler, I remember specifically. Mm-hmm. He was a big sprint car guy, and he also ran in the 500. Mm-hmm. That was a thing back then.
Didn't Tony Stewart start out in midgets and sprint cars back in the day before he became
an
IndyCar driver?
He's from Indianapolis, right? So that's where he got his start in the sprint cars, and then he also ran in the Indy cars, I think, before he came to NASCAR.
Right. And Sam Hornish also, before he went to NASCAR, was he's two-time IndyCar champ. He won the Indy 500 and everything. And then
that's a name you haven't heard in a while. Sam Hornish. Where did he go?
I don't know. He was really good in IndyCar. He won championships. I believe he won the Indy 500 and everything. And then driver for Penske. And then I don't know what happened to him. He all of a sudden is like, oh, he's going to NASCAR. And everybody goes, oh, okay, he's going to be good in NASCAR. He was mediocre. I think did he even win a race in NASCAR? I think it may be the Busch series back in the day he did. But other than that, he kind of disappeared. He fell off the face of the earth. You're the NASCAR guy. You're the NASCAR guy. What happened to Sam Hornish when he went over there? What did you guys do to Sam Hornish?
Don't know. He's just like I said, you said the name Sam Hornish, and I'm like, when was the last time I heard the name Sam Hornish? Yeah. Don't know. Guy just like disappeared, I guess. Yeah. I guess he made a lot of money and retired into the woodwork, which is not a bad thing. You can't blame him.
No.
If he did.
He made some serious money, so whatever.
It's just strange. Won a lot of races, had a lot of success, Yeah. Raced in 2 major series.
It's just strange to see a driver like drop off. Usually see good drivers, they're at the top, then they'll start, going down little by little over the years, not having as much. Right. But all of a sudden it's like Sam Hornish, big name. Next day, whatever happened to Sam Hornish?
It's like I can't remember the last time I heard that name. I'm
going to see if I can find out what happened to Sam Hornish. That'll be good. Do a real
Sam, if you're out there,
if you're watching us,
join us on the Zoom podcast here, mm-hmm. and we'll do an interview. Mm-hmm. See what it's like in the day of Sam Hornish now, in the day in the life.
Of course, like Indy 500, then the Coca-Cola 600. The Coca-Cola 600 is one of those races. Explain it to me. Why is it 600 miles?
The thing is that it was always scheduled for the Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
And it had to compete with the Indianapolis 500 and also later Monaco. It had to compete with these races because it's fighting for the fan dollar.
Uh-huh.
And so they said, well, we can't go up against the 500, so we'll just add an extra 100 miles to it and be a 600-mile race, and then that'll be its special thing because Monaco is special, been around forever. It's one of the iconic Formula One venues of all time, and then you have Indianapolis, which is like that's where racing was born, basically. Right after they invented the car, they built the Indianapolis Speedway.
1911, I believe the first one was. Yeah.
Right. And at first it was a testing, that's where the manufacturers went to test their cars. Right. And test the endurance of the car. And then, they said, well, hey, my Ford's faster than your Dodge, And okay, prove it. Let's go out here and run them and see.
Yeah, but 600
and then
miles.
Then they started wrecking. What was it? The first 2 Philadelphia had back in the day only had two cars. The whole city of Philadelphia, there was only two cars, and they ran into each other
I
in the whole
believe I
city.
can see that happening.
They had an accident. There's only two cars in the whole city, and they run into each other.
Well, as they say, the first auto races happened when the second car was built.
And then, of course, it was running from the law with the NASCAR guys, the moonshiners.
The Coca-Cola 600 miles at Charlotte, a mile and a half oval. How do the teams prepare differently for those extra 100 miles as opposed to the Daytona 500 or the Talladega?
Well, strategy, it changes the whole complexion of the race strategy wise, as far as fuel and all that. I don't think it's much a fuel race as it is a tires and just lasting to get to the last 100 miles.
Right.
Because it becomes just a survival until then. You're just like, we're just trying to get to the last 100 miles and then we'll race.
No,
I think it's a conservative race at first because the extra strain on the equipment, the engines and everything, the extra 100 miles.
Yeah, all those long distance oval races are pretty much the same, whereas you're just trying to stay near the front. And did you lose something?
Yeah, I'm just trying to deal with my computer here. Sorry.
No problem. That where you just try to stay near the front, keep your nose clean, don't get in any trouble, and set yourself up for those last 100 miles or so, because that's when the race really begins. You notice it especially in a NASCAR race when there's about 100 miles to go, especially like a Daytona or the Coca-Cola 600, Talladega. It's like, okay, this was fun. Then when 100 miles to go, it's like, okay, all bets are off. You're not my friend anymore. No more helping. And you can see the tension just goes up a notch.
Oh yeah. People that would move over for you early in the race and let you go because they're either conserving gas or tires or whatever. Yeah. All of a sudden, they're not moving over anymore.
Yeah, or helping with a tow, helping with a tow or things like that, or giving them a push. That doesn't happen in the last 100 miles, especially at races like Indianapolis or the Coca-Cola 600. And then you have Monaco, which is a whole different ball of wax. I know a lot of people complain about Monaco. There's hardly any passing and it's too tight and everything. I love Monaco. I love the fact that it's narrow. I love the fact that there are walls right there. I love the fact that if you even miss your line by a smidgen, your race is over. I mean, it's if you want to see how precise a race car driver can be, watch the Monaco Grand Prix, especially a qualifying. When you see a guy like Hamilton or Verstappen or somebody like that on his hot lap, it's a thing to behold. It's a thing to behold.
Actually, I just watched the Formula E race that was in Monaco, I guess a week ago or so.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
It was a good race till my DVR ran out of time and didn't show the ending of the race. But they went through that hairpin, that by the hotel there, and 3 wide. Of course, they wrecked, but I've never seen 3 wide at the hairpin.
Yeah, you can't go 3 wide at that hairpin without wrecking.
Yeah, well, they found that out. Yeah. You can't go 3 wide.
And they put out a good race there, considering they only have like a little over. They have under 400 horsepower. They're like 350, I believe. In total.
Yeah, they're a lot slower. I mean, compared to a Formula One car, they're way slow.
Way slow. But I like the fact that they run on street tires, though.
Yeah, those sort of street tires.
Yeah, Michelin.
They do have grooves.
Yeah, they do have grooves. They're Michelin tread,
but they're just straight. They're not any kind of like water tread or anything like that.
No. But it's fun. I was watching last night on YouTube the Monaco Historics, which I love. That's where this last weekend, the track's already set up. They get historic Grand Prix cars from different eras, and they race them. And
that's what Zach Brown was doing, wasn't
it? Right. He was
in an old Was
He
it a
was
McLaren? I
racing.
don't know what he was
No,
driving.
he had funny enough, he had a Williams. He was driving
Okay,
the
that's right.
FW07, the championship winning Williams. He was racing. I haven't seen that one yet. I saw the one for the early 70s, mid 70s race. And I love it. These guys, a bunch of millionaires who buy these old Formula One cars, maintain them, but then they go out there and race. And you think, I've been to historic races before. I love going to historic racing and I love seeing the old cars. They go out there and they go fast, but they're not going to push it because they don't want to hurt their cars. It's museum pieces.
Right.
These guys, the Monaco historics, that's like a different level. These guys are so rich, they don't care. They're going
for
walls.
it. They want that trophy.
Yeah, they want to race and say they raced and won a race at Monaco, and they're driving like maniacs there. But these cars are like they should be belong in a museum, and they're out banging wheels. I saw one guy in one race, he over revved the engine at the start. He never even made it to the start finish line. It's like he just went the lights went out and you just hear bam. You know how much it costs to rebuild a Cosworth V8? I didn't want to think about how much it costs to fix that thing.
I don't even want to think about that. Probably more than my house, a couple of my houses.
Yeah. So I would recommend if you want to see something fun and remember and look at the way looking back at the old times and remember all that stuff. Look at the Monaco Grand Prix historics. They're all up on YouTube now. They put them up as soon as the races are over. It's fun. It's these guys are crazy, and if that isn't enough to make you want to be rich, I don't know what is. I want to do that.
Well, there's plenty to make you want to be rich.
I want to get one of those
Not
cars.
just race cars.
Pardon me?
Not just race cars is why you want to be rich.
Oh yeah, well, hey. So back to the Coca-Cola 600 NASCAR. This season, what are your impressions so far is going on in NASCAR this year? It's been to me, it's been kind of quiet. There hasn't been any big.
Well, you've got like two or three guys. You got your Denny Hamlin, who is the past few seasons has been like the top driver that gets all the way to the championship race and then loses.
Right.
And then you have your Kyle Larson, who is always up front. He's always in the top five. It's very seldom he's out of the top five.
Right.
And somehow he drives a loose race car conservatively right up against the wall. I don't know how you do that, but he manages somehow to drive like that and still be able to take care of his car and his tires. And then there's a couple other guys. There's the other Hendrick drivers, and this past race is the Roush team. Brad Keselowski had bought half of the Roush team a couple years ago,
right?
And he's brought them back up into prominence because he's right up there every week up front, just like Kyle Larson is. And he finally won his first race. Congratulations to him as an owner driver that owns his own car. And that's how you do it,
Anybody else this year who's impressed you, who's like somebody maybe you didn't expect was going to do that well this year?
No, it's been mostly the old timers in the Hendrick cars and the Gibbs cars. They're always going to be up front. So if any one of those cars is up front, it's really not a surprise. It's more of a surprise if they're not up front. It's more of a surprise when Kyle Busch is not up front. But he's been kind of hot and cold. When he's on it, he's got a chance to win it. And he's up front, and then the next race, he's riding in the back. You can't find a handle on the car. So he's with a new team to him. Of course, Richard Childress is not a new team,
right?
But he's brought that team back up, and that's maybe, I guess, one of the surprises. You'd think him going to a second tier team, which Childress was. He's brought him up to right up the cusp of a first tier team almost.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the surprise to me is Kyle Busch doing as well as he has. I thought maybe it was gonna take him a while if he could do it at all, because the history with those kind of things isn't always good. You know, you leave a team like Gibbs, you know, one of, if not the top team over the last decade, and then you're going to go to a second tier team, and then that doesn't always work out good. So I'm impressed with the way he's brought them up. He's brought their standard up to back to where you hoped they would have been all this time. But after Dale Earnhardt died, it was Kevin Harvick came in, and he won some races, and he was a really great race car driver. So he was able to carry that team through.
Right.
And then after he switched teams, they kind of just went into a funk.
Right.
Kind of say, it was, Richard Childress' grandson was their lead driver. And, there was always this saying he only got the ride because he was his grandson and this and that. He's a good race car driver, but he's not the race car driver that, say, Kyle Busch is.
Right.
Kyle Busch has an off day, finishes 10th. Austin Dillon has an off day, he finishes 30th. So there's a big difference, and they're in the same equipment, the same car, the same team. So, a driver like that coming in to a new team, that's why I say Keselowski and Busch are my two surprise guys.
I'm going to be looking forward to watching this Coca-Cola 600 after Indy, if I'm still awake, if I still have, between watching Monaco and Indy, and then I'll probably take a NASCAR nap, as I usually do when I watch a NASCAR race.
Well, by the time you get to the 600, you've already watched an incredible amount of racing already,
Well, we're coming up to the end, but I just want to bring up one thing.
Okay.
Just to point out, just to let people know in case they didn't notice. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how Penske, with the cheating scandal in IndyCar, they suspended a bunch of people, including the famous Tim Cindric. Yeah, They suspended him from his IndyCar team. But last week, where was he? He was in Monterey at Laguna Seca, running the Penske sports car team in the IMSA race.
Well, there you go.
Really good suspension there.
Yeah, but that's different from IndyCar. That's a different league.
Yeah, still.
Well, he didn't show up at the IndyCar race.
That's like in baseball. You suspend the baseball play. You suspend Shohei Ohtani for pitching and go, but we're still going to let him DH, He's suspended, but
no, I think the suspension means you have to stay away.
Yeah, he was suspended, but not super secret suspension, as he used to call it. On that note, it's time to call it an end, to quit, whatever you want to say. I'm Tony Castanera. This is
Jeff Brown.
There you go. Come on, say with conviction, louder.
No, that's loud enough.
Follow us on. We have a Facebook page. We're on Twitter. I've got to work on our TikTok. Gotta make us an Instagram. I can't believe we don't have an Instagram page yet. Like us on YouTube. Come on, give us those thumbs up, write a comment, ask us some questions. We're gonna have some contests coming up. You also be able to hear us on Spotify. If you're in the car and you're driving around, you want to hear us, you want to hear my melodious voice, the sultry
Hey, we
sounds.
may even let you join in on the podcast.
Hey, we're going to be doing that too. It's going to be one of the contests. We're going to look for somebody to sit in with us, do an interview with the fan, super fan, so to speak. So let us know, follow us. So until next week, see you later, guys.